This is the HomeTech Podcast for July 14th. From Sarasota, Florida, I'm Seth Johnson.
From Naperville, Illinois, I'm TJ Huddleston.
And from Pickering, Ontario, I'm Gavin.
And welcome to the HomeTech Podcast, the podcast all about home automation, home technology, home theater installs that somebody is doing in a different state now. That they are coming from a hotel. So if we have any problems with audio tonight, it's always TJ's fault anyway, but it's especially his fault.
100% my
100% tonight, yeah.
That's all right. I always take the blame for it. My audio isn't the best sometimes, and especially when you have hotel Wi-Fi and everything else. Hopefully it's not too bad, but I did bring my actual mic set up. So, the people that listen and gave me flack for not having a good microphone, I did bring the whole setup this time. So
You sound good.
Thank you. Yeah, this is at this point, I think this is the traveling HomeTech podcast. So
I feel like it is because I will be on the road next. Like I probably have to figure out scheduling. Like I've got some times where I've got to be in Tampa next Tuesday. So when we typically sit down and record, I don't know, maybe back by the end of the day, but we'll see. So I'm not going to have a podcast from Tampa. So there's a trade show thing, not trade show, like a vendor or rep show or something that's going on up there. I was going to see
some distributor or something like that.
Yeah, like one of the reps that does a bunch of brands. It's like a rep firm. They go out and we still have those in this industry. It's really strange. Like they will go out and they will represent a bunch of speakers or audio systems or Sony TVs or something like that for the manufacturer. And I think we're probably one of the last industries to have rep firms doing that kind of work. But here we are. There's a lot of them out there.
Got to get those numbers up somehow. Rep firms probably do that.
Yeah, I guess so. It's extra salespeople that you don't have to hire that do your work for you. There you go. All right, guys, it's officially Prime Day today too. July 11th, July 12th is also Prime Day. I still have all my money. So I have failed this assignment from buying anything from Jeff Bezos and company. How are you guys holding out?
I'm kind of glad that the wife doesn't listen to this podcast because I could be honest with you guys. This week has been rough. I've spent way too much money. Prime Day, and the sad part, it's only the first day of Prime Day, so I'm afraid for tomorrow. So because I'm starting to get the other family, they're sending me their lists and stuff like that. So, but it wasn't all tech I bought. I stocked up on a lot of essentials. So things like batteries. I bought a whole bunch of dog food, because that's all I'll be able to eat after spending all my money on everything else. But, all those little things that go on sale during Prime Day, the prices are pretty good. In terms of tech though, I grabbed a Eve Matter smart plug. I needed another Yolink temp sensor, another Quara air quality sensor. All those things are on sale. Great time to buy them. They were good discounts, so I just grabbed one here and there. What I did notice is some huge sales on robot vacuums. So I know by the time this gets edited and published, Prime Day is over. But hopefully you got, in on the robot vacuum deals there. I'm so tempted and I'm scared because there's still one day. So who knows if I'll spend money tomorrow on one. I don't know at this point. But yeah, it's been a dangerous Prime Day this week.
You had me worried because I just bought a robot vacuum, but mine's only 3% off right now. So I don't think I missed out on $5 too much.
It's not even a deal. It's a slap in the face.
The only thing I bought for Prime Day is I bought a 3-pack of the Eros Pro 6Es. I sell them to a lot of people, so it's always good when you can find them on sale. But they also is stacked with a $100 Amazon gift card, and so I thought that was a pretty good deal. I'll use that to buy future customer products or something else. But I was kind of disappointed I couldn't buy more than one set. So
yeah, I haven't found anything that interests me enough to actually buy it. They really want to push Apple Watches on me for some reason. I guess. They're 30% off, which seems like a pretty good deal, but I'm sure there's going to be a new Apple Watch coming out soon. I always have the fear of buying an Apple Watch or something, and there's a new one coming out.
There's always a new one.
There's always a new one.
That's what you got to think of it.
I already have one though, so and I don't really want a robot vacuum. I kind of do, but at the prices they're at, there's still more than I want to pay.
Yeah, just don't fight it. Yeah, you just buy what works for you at the time for a good deal.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, robot vacuums really weren't on. I mean, I guess the bigger ones are on sale by a few $100, but I'm not going to get it. I could get another one and have them fight each other in the backyard or something. That would be fun. But
you just have the robot vacuum follow the lawnmower and pick up all its clippings.
That'd be a great idea.
I'm sure that'll work great.
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't really seen anything that's just like something that was a great deal enough for something I have to have. And maybe I'm saying this early because, like Gavin mentioned, it's day one. Day two could bring some more shenanigans, and then we'll have more stuff to buy. I guess some of the TV deals are like insane, and I guess that's just because TV prices are really low. But their TVs down 50-inch TVs for like $200. They're not great TVs, but it's still a 50-inch TV for $200, right? So
yeah, I had a client earlier today tell me that the frame TVs, if you're looking for a Samsung frame TV, they are significantly cheaper on Amazon today.
Oh yeah, wow!
I was just looking; you can get a 55-inch for $500 off right now. So 65-inch you can get for a couple $100 off.
I mean, for $200, that would be great for an outdoor TV. Like, you don't have to worry about it for that price. Throw it outdoors, temporarily. Buy a case for it too. They have the hard cases for it. Yeah, perfect.
Well, that's what a lot of people are doing now, is they'll just buy a cheap TV and throw it out there. And it works great as long as you're not in an environment where you're having like full sun on the TV. Because if you are, then a normal TV is going to be awful outside. But if you're not, like it's covered patio or something that's got a lot of shade, you're not going to notice much difference most of the time.
Yeah, they generally work here in Florida year round. Like, you don't have to take them down or anything. A lot of times I always recommend people cover them, especially keep like the dew off of them in the morning and that kind of thing, because it gets very dewy here sometimes. And then like if you're on the water though, like if you're anywhere near the salt water.
Oh yeah, it just destroys everything anyway.
You have to get an outdoor cover TV type thing with all the stuff, because it's just like you can do the cheap TV swap out, and it's always a dance or a gamble that you play. Like, it's going to work, but who knows for how long, and it's always going to fail. When is it going to fail? The weekend that you want to use it for your party. So like, you always on those, I always recommended just biting the bullet and buying the new TV. And most people went with it, and some people didn't for a while, and then they're like, yeah, I'm done with this. Just get the outdoor TV, put it up.
Yeah, we have a restaurant I installed. I think it was like 365-inch, just a cheap Samsung, from Costco TVs. I think about 4 or 5 years ago, and they stay up year round, and they're covered, but it's not like a big covered area, and they still work great. So it really is a gamble, though.
Yeah, it always is. Like, because you never know, some little electronic device in there gets too hot or gets some moisture on it, and it goes. Like, it's just, that's the way of the world, I suppose. But yeah. Oh, Govee smart lighting also on sale for home. I saw a bunch of that stuff. 43% off, 30% off, 40% off. So yeah, Govee, we talked about them last show. Those permanent outdoor lights we were talking about, they're, instead of $199, $139 for, I think, the 100-foot version. So if you were looking for that stuff, it would have been a great time to buy it. And too bad you missed out on it by listening to the show a couple of days after Amazon Prime ended. But some pretty good stuff out there. All right. We have a bunch of Prime deals to look through, but not too many HomeTech headlines. But we do have a couple. So what do you guys say we get started?
Let's do it.
All right. Latch, we talked about these guys not too long ago. They make access control hardware and software, has announced a strategic growth initiative aimed at creating a scalable foundation and for future expansion, which basically means they're just going to lay a bunch of people off. 59% of their workforce is going to be laid off by November 1st. That is crazy. Recently, these guys were in the news. We talked about them not too long ago because CEO, they named Jamie Siminoff, who is formerly of the CEO of Ring, their CEO of Latch earlier in the year, when his company, he had made like kind of on the side, Honest Days Work, I guess, was acquired by Latch. And then they're like, oh, Jamie Siminoff is our new CEO, and everybody's fired. So it really sucks for people who work there. I guess it's both in the United States and in Taiwan. it's kind of crazy when this stuff happens. It's weird, but this is what they're going to do moving forward. They're kind of looks like they're just like clear the decks and starting over. Um, no fun. No fun when people get laid off for seemingly no reason. I don't want to say they had to pay somebody's salary, but there's a new hire and he's expensive, I'm sure.
Yeah, 59% is a lot of people. I wonder how many people that actually is, though. I mean, it seems like a large portion of the company, but it also doesn't seem like that big of a company. So I mean, are we talking like dozens of people or hundreds of people? I couldn't find any information about that.
Yeah, I remember when we last talked about this company. It was hard finding out any information about them, but 59%, that's a large chunk of the company, and I feel bad for the people left behind because now your work's just doubled overnight, right? Like somebody's got to do the work they were doing too. So it's going to be a tough time for them, and hopefully, they pull through.
Yeah, usually you see these things happen like later on, right? There's usually like acquisitions made, and it makes sense, like for efficiency reasons, not to have two accounting departments doing different accounting things. So usually you see like the marketing people combine, or some of them laid off, or the accounting, that kind of thing. Salespeople, like recently, Snap AV kind of like went wholesale slaughter on a bunch of old Control 4 salespeople. Like, but it's just like that was inevitably going to happen. Because the Snap AV is kind of like a parent company. They probably had their own sales structure in place when they acquired another national sales organization. And it's just easy to kind of like have one of the top guys instead of two, right? It just kind of makes more sense. I'm trying to see, Latch is in a publicly traded company. I'm kind of curious if they report how many employees they have. Anyway, I'm not finding it right offhand, but it would be a good question to figure out like what 59% is. Actually, I'm seeing something here, 440. So 59% is quite a bit, 200 or 300 people. Yeah, as of December 2021, there was 440, it says. So who knows if they've expanded in that amount of time, but it'd be interesting to know how many people that is and where all they're located. We'll have to see what happens with this company moving forward now that they have a new CEO, and see what he ends up doing with Latch. Anyway, speaking of expensive people, Jony Ive, the former Apple designer that did all the fancy Apple products with Steve Jobs there, has partnered with audio company Lynn to create a 50th anniversary edition of the iconic Sounddeck LP 12 turntable. This company, Loveform, worked on the project pro bono due to their admiration for Lynn. And while they couldn't make significant changes to the turntable's design to maintain sound quality, they did implement a few small improvements and gentle evolutions. This sounds like a Jony Ive thing, right? Such as rounded corners. Imagine that, right? And aluminum power buttons. I could have guessed those two things would have been done. Like, yeah, anyway. Special edition Sounddeck LP 12-50 retains the classic look, but has a pretty hefty price tag. $60,000, and only 250 units will be produced. So if you want one of these, you got to pony up and get in line. Hopefully you can get one of those if you really, really, really want one. I don't know. I do know from the last turntable that we talked about, at least they remembered to put the dust cover on, because I think that was Gavin. I think that was your biggest complaint about that one that was working for Sonos. It was like a Sonos one. Yeah, they didn't have a dust cover on it. This one, they were smart enough to include it on this one. So I think this one's right up your alley, man.
That one cost a little more, so it makes sense they would include the dust cover.
I know. That's a $59,000 dust cover right there. But, the part that really upsets me about this is the dust cover doesn't have any rounded edges. I mean, it seems like a miss there too, like Jony Ive didn't work on the dust cover.
You can only do so much, man. I mean,
I know.
I think he just did the interior part. the bottom.
You know what, though? I'm looking at this and I'm like, even if I was rich, I don't think I'd really want this thing. This thing looks, I've had a few turntables in my time, right? And this thing looks like something I grew up with. I feel like I could have designed something a little better looking than this. I don't know. For $60,000.
All about the nostalgia, though, Gavin. You got to pay for the nostalgia.
Listen, I have two Techniques behind me right now. And those are like 30 years old, right? And they work great.
Man, I just want to go on record by saying that that Gavin has in front of him right now, 2 turntables and a microphone. Just gonna go on
Actually, the
record
2
saying
turntables in the mixer are behind me. The microphone's in front. So, you know,
You still got them.
in the room, I do have 2 turntables, a mixer, a couple microphones. Yes. And those turntables are 30 years old and they work beautifully. And I don't know how much better a turntable, like, you know, can make a scratchy record sound too, right? Like, I don't know. That's a hefty price tag, but I think the price tag's around the fact that who it's made by, how many they're making. You know, it's a limited edition. But I really wish I expected something to look a little better than this. To be honest, it's a letdown for me.
All right, so I mean, what would you rather have, Gavin? Would you rather have 4 of these record players or one of these C-Steed TVs that pop out of the ground?
The TV. I'd rather have the because the TV at least
surprise.
But, when the TV pops out of the ground and unfolds, you know, after you sat there and waited 20 minutes for that to occur, right? At least you know what you spent your money on. You know, like this turntable, I'd lift up the dust cover, I'd put the record on, then put the needle on. It would probably skip a few times, you know, and I paid $60,000 for something that I could do on a $1,000 turntable.
So you got to take it all in, you know. Ooh, look at these nice soft round edges and these nice aluminum buttons.
You know, what's funny is I'm looking on like eBay and all the other places for a classic LP12, and they actually go for like $2,000 to $3,000. It looks like. Some of them actually been refurbished. So and there's some Etsy links here where they will sell you the bottom part of it, I guess. Like the woodwork for $500, and it looks like they've been able to round off the edges there too. So I mean, all in all, you could buy this for what, $1,850. Put this nice new custom wood plinth, walnut finger joined together with the rounded edges with solid maple, and from Etsy here for, you know, maybe $25, $30, $500 depending on what you paid on eBay for this thing. So
does it come with a dust cover?
Oh, you know what? It does. It does. Yes. It does have a dust cover.
Okay.
It looks like the parts are fairly available for this. I mean, maybe it's harder. Maybe I don't know what I'm talking about, but I'm seeing parts and pieces like the feet and like different knobs, the actuator parts and that kind of thing around it, like belts and that stuff. So it looks like you can still get parts for it. So that may be the way to go. Instead of getting a Jony Ive version, you can just get this one.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure there's a lot of tech in this though. That's pretty cool. If you really broke it open and looked into it, I'm pretty sure they have a lot of processing and stuff. Does it converts it to digital too, right?
No.
Or is it analog out?
You can actually record it to CDs directly. So
for $60,000, they include a guy who goes down to the store and buys the CD for you when you put a record on it. And
then you gotta order those on Amazon. You can't buy CDs at the store anymore. Come on.
You know what? I'm gonna add this to my watch list for next year's Prime Day. We'll see.
For some reason, I don't think it's gonna be on there, but it might.
Yeah, this is one of those collectors thing for somebody to
all go over
to it's kind of like have in their house.
Look how much I
show off to people, I guess.
I'll check the Amazon returns and see.
There you go. Government auction sites here soon too.
Yeah, some yeah, maybe it'll get seized and auctioned off in a government auction. Too good. Well, free work from Jony Ive and $60,000 turntable, $250 being made. If you want to grab one, we'll put a link in the show notes. If you just want to spend $60,000 for no reason, you can sponsor the show here. HomeTech.fm/support, just right there in Patreon. Just enter in whatever amount you want. 60,000 is perfectly fine. We'll take that one. So let's move on here to our fun segment, Who Matters This Week. And this was kind of a surprise. SwitchBot has released firmware for the SwitchBot lock, making it compatible with Apple, HomeKit, and other Matter-capable platforms. Yay, SwitchBot! Congratulations, you matter this week. The update, facilitated through the SwitchBot Hub 2, exposes the lock to Apple HomeKit for the first time, and should also be compatible with platforms like Alexa, Google Home, and Samsung SmartThings through the Matter compatibility. So you're going to need to be on SwitchBot app version 7.3, Hub firmware version 1.0 to -01808. Just forget about it. I'm going to put a link to the show notes in this thing. Like, this is probably more confusing than anything I've ever seen. you can get the Matter update if you want to do it. Just press the button, I guess, and it's probably really easy to do. Speaking of really easy to do Matter updates, Gavin has a few stories for us. Is it really easy to do? It just seems like it's pretty easy to do, right, Gavin?
Matter? I don't know if I would say it's easy, but so I picked up last week. I picked up the Aqara P2 contact sensors, and those were my first Matter over Thread devices. That's what I was waiting on, right? And I was like, all right, I'm starting from scratch with this whole Matter thing, Thread, Matter. Let me start from scratch and, as a regular person, just see what's going to be involved in getting this thing working. So first thing I did was, I pulled up my Alexa or my Amazon devices, right? And I remember, I have a new one. So I'm like, I remember reading something about Matter in it. So I was like, all right, let me try and add it. And, going through the process on my phone, it lets me add it, but then it fails. And it's just a weird failure message, et cetera, et cetera. And then after when I looked into it, I'm like, well, no, this is actually a Matter controller and not a border router. I'm like, great, that's going to confuse users, like they just see Matter like the same way I got confused. You have to actually be a border router for it to be able to add it. So I don't have any Matter related products in that ecosystem. So I'm like, okay, great. I have a new Apple TV. So let me go and try and add it to HomeKit now, right? So, I go through the song and dance again and try and add it to the HomeKit, and it was failing. I could never get it to add for some reason. So I'm like, I don't know what it is. Maybe it's range because my HomeKit, my Apple TV is down in the family room. I was upstairs. Maybe it's just range, but I gave up. I didn't even want to fight with that anymore. I was like, new protocol, same issues. Like I just got fed up. So then I said, all right, this is the opportunity to set up the new Sky Connect and Home Assistant. Right? I've had that thing sitting there for a long time. So I threw the Sky Connect in the system, passed it through. I flashed it with just the Matter firmware. So it's not doing any Zigbee. I'm keeping my Zigbee on their own device. Instructions aren't the best. Like it's not straightforward. Like I had to guess at a lot of stuff. And then finally when it worked, I felt like it was all luck. I can't explain how I got it working. I felt like it was just luck. I don't care at this point. It worked. So I added the devices. Yeah, they got added and they were working. I was like, oh, awesome. This stuff works. Great. Look, open, close, open, close, open, close, unavailable. Right? I was like, oh, no, must be a glitch. It's back. Open, close, open, close, open, close, unavailable. Like every minute it was dropping off unavailable. So I gave up that day and I just left them there, and I came back the next day and I saw all the unavailables. It was dropping off every minute. And then I saw in a Reddit forum, Reddit's still good for something, somebody said turn off the OTBR firewall in the settings. And once I did that on Home Assistant, they all stayed online. So I was like, awesome. Like they work now. I don't know what the OTBR firewall does. I don't care. It's gone. Right? It's now everything works. I'm happy. So I've had them on, and they work. I mean, open, close. Well, that's what they do. They do it. They work fast. I don't see any speed differences compared to my Zoos, my Zigbee, my Z-Wave. Everything just looks normal. But today now, we have storms rolling through. I had a power blip. My house lost power for like 2 seconds. Everything came back. I was like, awesome. Everything came back except my Matter devices.
They don't work in the rain. That wasn't part of the spec.
Don't get them wet. Come on.
Well, they're indoors, right? Like, I know, but I'm just like, really? So I rebooted everything. I'm like, is it my Apple TV? Let me reboot that. Let me log in, log out. Let me reboot Home Assistant. Let me restart every service. I went through everything and I'm like, they're just unavailable and they're not working. So I kind of like reached out on Twitter and I was like, anyone have anything to try? And our friend Jimmy over there on Twitter, Automated House, for those that follow, he says, do a battery pull, right? So I said, why would I have to battery pull a battery device after a power outage? But, I didn't question it. I just said, let me do it. Pulled the battery, put the battery back in, bam, it kicked back in, right? Yeah, I thanked him for his thing. And then, others have come out saying, yeah, we've seen this before too. After a power outage, our devices, every now and then we have to battery pull, Matter devices. I'm like, I hope they sort this out before Matter becomes, if I had 70 of these devices and I had to battery pull after a power outage, I guess in the end, I'm just going to say, give Matter some time. I still consider it beta. They got to iron out all the kinks. It's for those that are like, I want to build my home around Matter, just give it some time. Like that's all I have to say. It needs some time to work out.
Don't do that. That's what Gavin is saying.
Yeah. But in the end, it feels like the whole thread Matter thing is just new protocols with the same issues, range issues, dropping off issues. I really hate their onboarding process. So when you onboard, yeah, you scan a QR code, right? But I mean, I only have 2 devices at this point, and I've already mixed up the QR codes. I don't know which one belongs to which device, so I just scan a random one and hope that's it, right? So I'm like, I don't want to manage QR codes, but then when you add it, you can read the number on the side of the device and enter the number inside. But the number is printed in a light gray. I could barely read it. I'm like, great. Like if I ever have to re-add these things, I'd have to do that. And then even when adding it, it's like, okay, we're adding your device. This could take minutes. And it literally does. Like, it's like, what are you doing? I'm sitting there watching this thing add for like 3 minutes. And I'm like, what is it that you guys, are you having a conversation or something? Like, seriously, like, just add it to my Matter, like, how hard could this be? Like, I know these are first world problems. I know it's Matter, like, it's just, I'm sitting there and I was actually watching. I got through commercials faster than this thing added.
Oh, wow. Yeah, it should be pretty instant.
Yeah, I don't know why it takes so long, and that's a normal thing, but they're back online. They're working. My Matter experience was not the greatest for initial setup, and I just think if, regular people are just going to be just as confused. Like, this isn't simplifying anything at this point, but I think as more border routers infiltrate people's houses, whether it's through Eero or through the Amazon devices or the Apple devices, I think it will probably get better and easier for them. It was kind of cool that, yes, I could add it to HomeKit and I could add it to Home Assistant. But the way I do things today is I add it to Home Assistant, and then I just expose it all to HomeKit and everything anyway. So that really is no advantage to me anyway, right?
Right.
So, yeah, that's my experience, my first Matter over Thread device. I, true Gavin fashion, when you have one bad printer, you're going to order another one. I had one bad Matter device. I ordered another Matter device, so I have another one coming in, and I'm going to,
glutton for punishment.
Yeah. I'm going to go through the whole, process again with a plug, and see how that is. And I think it's going to be a much better experience now that I have, the infrastructure there. So to say, we'll see how that goes, but I really hope, that I don't have to actually reset them after a power blip. That would drive me nuts.
Well, it's not like it can get any worse, Gavin. So, I mean, you already went through the worst of it. Everything else is just easy from now on. So
smooth sailing.
Smooth sailing.
That's what I'm hoping. Yeah.
Technology always gets easier.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Until there's an update, so I'm playing around with the Matter. I just wanted to see what it was all, like, and again, I went in with, I have nothing set up for Matter. Let me start from scratch, and see, I had to inventory what I had in my house and what was compatible, et cetera, et cetera. And here I am. So in terms of the sensor though, it's a great sensor. Open, close. It does what it's supposed to do. Right. It's pretty big though. I find it's a big sensor. It's pretty hefty. But it really doesn't matter, because you'll be sitting on top of a door or something like that. So you're good. But hopefully, like I said, hopefully you don't have to, after a power blip, you don't have to reset 70 of them when you have them throughout your house.
Yeah, I think on the show last week, I bought some FP2 sensors while we were recording. And I got those installed. And getting them set up with the Aquare app was relatively easy. You scan the little code, it sets it up. But getting them added to Home Assistant was painful. And I honestly, like, if you didn't send me the links and stuff like that, I probably wouldn't have been able to figure it out. And it's weird though, because like I was reading other articles online and they were telling you how to add it on, and people were having kind of the same issues and stuff like that. But it auto adds itself to Apple HomeKit. And so I had to go into Apple HomeKit, delete it, and then Home Assistant found it immediately. So like that was super aggravating, because like I didn't go in and add it to HomeKit. It just manually found it, or automatically found it and added it in. But I did not know that because I don't use HomeKit. It's not even set up on my phone or anything like that. So
setting that up was really weird, and I only found that information in a Home Assistant forum in a post, and it just happened to. It's one of those things you read it, and you're like, I can't believe that, and then you try it, and you're like, oh, it worked, right? Like
after fighting with it forever too.
Yeah, and those FP2s, they're not Matter devices though. They're I don't even know what the class are. They HomeKit devices? Yeah, they're HomeKit devices because when you bring them into Home Assistant, it's through the HomeKit controller. So yeah, hopefully that kind of gets worked out. I know they released an update this week, so if you have them, check for an update. 1.1.9.003959, something like that. It will. They've improved the detection of multiple people in a room, and I was just testing it out before the show, and it's actually really cool when it sees two people in a room, and it sees you moving around. It can detect one person's in the chair and one person's on the couch, and the stuff you could do with that. So they're really good sensors, but they're working out the bugs.
Yeah. Well, and it's supposed to be used for, with their hub too. So what we're doing is a little different than probably what they're originally meant to do. So
they're definitely not testing what you're doing, TJ, like with their own equipment. It's like, well, again, it's one of those, we were talking about this before the show. It's like, well, it works on my end. Like, good for you.
But those ones are HomeKit though devices, so they should at least work at HomeKit. And I think they did mention Home Assistant. It's just, where was any of that documented on how to get into Home Assistant? It's not an easy thing.
No, it's not. Well worth it though. They're nice.
That's kind of the thing. Well, kind of the reverse issue that I had with the lock. It was like basically needed to be set up and deployed through their own app, which makes sense. And then once it was done that way and the firmware was upgraded, then I could add it over into the HomeKit section fairly easily. But just going straight to the HomeKit app and scanning the QR code like you would expect to do didn't work at all. Like, and I guess it makes sense, but I still had to scan the QR code. I just had to initiate that in the app first for whatever reason. So yeah, speaking of Matter, like I've had this little Eve device that we talked about on my daughter's door, so we can tell when she's supposed to be going to sleep. And it has a nice little button here. It says upgrade to Matter. Should I press it?
Do you have a Matter border controller in your house at all? Yeah, newer Apple TV.
I don't know. I don't care. It gives me 3 green check marks. It says I'm good to go. Should I hit it? Should I hit the button?
All right, and while you're at it, check for a Home Assistant update too,
Oh, while upgrading, a Matter setup code will be generated. I get to keep this code in somewhere. And it will completely replace my HomeKit setup code, which is actually on the device, or probably in a thing that I threw away. So that's good, I guess. I don't know.
Way to confuse the average user.
If re-adding Rose's door via Matter after the firmware upgrade does not succeed, please reset it. So all the instructions are right here in the Eve app. You guys could have just used these.
The app gave you 3 green check marks, making you feel all good, and now it's giving you 1 big yellow warning.
4 warnings actually on here.
3 greens, 4 yellows. Go ahead, do it. What could really happen?
It says it's going to take a while after the update before all the features of the door appear in the Eve app. And then once you've upgraded your devices, you can't migrate them back to HomeKit. Oh, why? Why can't I do that?
Because it's a Matter device now. Once you go Matter, there's no going back.
Well, I think I just want to keep them in HomeKit, though.
I know there's something we should be saying instead.
Once you go Matter, you can't go back.
It's a show title.
Sorry, I had to put it in there.
Yeah, I don't know. Like I've been really happy with it in HomeKit though. So, but once it's in Matter, it will be Matter, and I can put it back into HomeKit using the QR code, right?
You can put it back in the Home app, but it will be a Matter device in the Home app, not a HomeKit app device. This is where it gets confusing. You know what I mean?
But I don't know what it's a door sensor. Like I really don't know. All right, here we go. Start upgrade. Oh, I got to scan the HomeKit code on it. Which I don't have, so
not doing that.
All right, well, crud. Well, I guess it's not going to be upgraded to Matter this week, but maybe I'll figure out how to do it. Her door just closed, so clearly she just went to bed. I can't run in there and take a picture of the door either. So, all right, I'll have to get to it next week, and we'll see what happens. Maybe it'll upgrade to Matter. It'll be a Matter, my first Matter device living on the network. And I figured if it doesn't work, then I'll just get another one of those sensors because they're pretty good and stick it on the door where the old one was.
And that one's a Wi-Fi one, right? It's Matter over Wi-Fi.
Thread.
Oh, is it Thread? Oh, yes, those are Thread. Yeah, because I ordered the one that comes with Matter installed, and that's Matter over Thread too. Yep.
In Eve Door is all it says. Eve Systems, Eve Door, Thread.
Okay.
Maybe I can update it.
Just do it.
Do it.
Open Thread version 2017-07-16. I don't know what that means. It sounds like it's old. 2017 was a long time ago, guys. I don't need I don't want firmware from 2017. Come on.
I'm like a hack.
Yeah, exactly. Through my one Thread device on the door. All right. Well, all the links, topics we discussed tonight can be found in our show notes over at HomeTech.fm/443. We have a pick of the week, but first we have a follow-up from some feedback about I remember this, driveway cameras failing alerts when cars drive by. Like, so I guess what was happening was cars were driving by. It was basically setting off too many alerts, right?
Yes, because I guess lights were reflecting in things or something like that, and Blue Iris was picking them up, and it's one of those issues that finally bugged me enough to actually make me want to. I can't remember who asked about this. I just remember we had someone asking about this, and I actually fixed it. And how I did it is to go into the camera settings. I adjusted the contrast. And when I bumped up the contrast, it stopped picking up those reflections from the cars driving by. And now I don't get, it doesn't trigger my light to come on every time a car drives by, but it still picks up everything else like movement and people in there. And I have it set up so when the alarm's, on at night, if it's a person in the driveway, it actually wakes me up by, going through my do not disturb. It will actually bing my phone and I'll get that alert. Whereas animals and that type of stuff won't wake me up. But for whoever asked about that, I just wanted to follow up with this. My contrast is set between, right now I have it at 25%. And that seems to be the sweet spot. Like I went to 50 and I was reducing it until it started triggering again. And then, I increased it to find the sweet spot and that was 25. So give that a shot and hopefully that, solves your issue.
A good suggestion. And of course it may be different for every camera and all the cameras videos are always different. Like, so it's really hard. That's why I'm amazed, like camera manufacturers could even ship some of these features in the past, because Blue Iris gives you access to all these like tiny little settings that you can adjust and tweak and to no end. And then like, if you go over to a regular camera system, it's like, yeah, it works, but it picks up this thing half the time. Like, but I'm just amazed that those camera systems even work at all because of all the settings that Blue Iris exposes to you. It's like, yeah, you can really tweak those things. And did you get hit by the Blue Iris bug thing that happened? The little, the people were upset about this, where basically their license server crashed and then everything went down. Yeah, there's Clippy. He's driving around in the background.
It was like a skunk.
I thought it was a skunk. That's why. You robot owner. Yeah, so Blue Iris this week they're having whenever you think you're having a bad week, someone else will top you, and they're having a bad week. It looks like their main server died, their web server, and they didn't have much of a backup of it, so they lost everything. They were rebuilding it. They didn't lose the license keys and stuff. Apparently that's other servers, they had backups of that stuff. But when all that happened, the server that Blue Iris software reaches out to verify its license, that one's down, and a lot of people's Blue Irises started switching over to like evaluation.
No good.
They were upset on the forums, and rightfully so. Not that the server was down, but by the fact that, hey, we're self-hosting this software because we don't want cloud dependency.
Yeah.
But this software is dependent on a cloud connection for it to function, right? And I guess they're gonna really have to rethink that and see how they can make people happy. Because I totally get it. Like, that's why I'm self-hosting this. I don't want it on the cloud. But if this can't call home, it's not gonna work. So I didn't get hit by it though.
It's one of those bugs that you really it's almost like you can't test for it, or you can't figure out. Like I deal with licensing at my job, and it's one of those things like, okay, you got to have licensing. It's got to be like fairly robust because people will steal your stuff, and you got to kind of put like a little roadblock up in front of them. It doesn't stop them. They're still going to steal your stuff. Okay. But at the same time, like, you have to have it it has to work, check in, verify that the licensing is correct. Because if it didn't, then it would just be like, oh, I installed this. And then they figure out how to reverse engineer it from there. And then it never checks in again. So I get it. I understand it, but it's one of those bugs. It's really kind of like, there's always an edge case to it, I guess. And I have hit those edge cases a couple of times.
Yeah.
and had the same thing happen to me and some of our installers and dealers and that kind of thing. Some of the things I was able to fix, and with software updates and that kind of thing. So that's good. But man, it really is. I have sympathy here because it's happened to me, and I feel sorry for them. But it does suck when that happens.
And people were posting in the forums, they weren't pushing piracy, but because of the situation, some of them had some critical systems that they couldn't be down, and they actually posted links on information on how to reset it. So they were like, if you delete these registry keys, it will reset the evaluation mode so you can keep this running, for a long period of time,
which it bypasses all.
It basically leaves it in an evaluation mode that never expires, right? So, they're gonna have to work through how to, fix this.
Great solution.
Yeah.
It's one of those things like with piracy, it's like, yeah, people are going to do it. I've kind of come to terms with it over the years. It's just like, it's going to be a small percentage. Anybody who is supportive of the software is going to pay for it. And that's really, you're working for them. You're not working for the people that are not doing things correctly, even though they're probably on the forums posting how bad they are that this went to eval mode and they have the permanent eval mode running. So
yeah. The people that pirate it were probably never going to purchase it in the first place.
Exactly.
But they're giving you valuable testing information, if anything, so,
yep.
Utilize them for that.
Yep. Well, I'm glad they got it back up and going. I had a massive migraine last Friday and I hit deploy on something and walked away from it. You should never deploy anything on Friday. Let me add that. But I had a massive migraine and I clearly was not thinking. And there was a typo, and that typo caused a lot of things to break until I noticed sometime Saturday afternoon. I said, oh, there sure are a lot of errors on this one function. Let me check that. Oh, there's a letter, literally one letter off on a variable name, and because I was typing and must have slept on the key or something and hit it. And yeah, it basically took out the entire, not the entire thing. Most of it was working, just things that people didn't see wasn't working. And then, it was causing a few thousand errors a second, but probably should have come back and checked that, but I was tired and I went to bed.
We've all been there.
So don't deploy on Friday is the lesson. Servers are going to crash is the other lesson. And there's only so much you can do about piracy. This is the third lesson. So there we go. We've solved all problems here on HomeTech.
No more problems now.
No more problems. Yeah, exactly.
Just take our advice.
Well, if you have any feedback, problems, questions, comments, picks of the week, great ideas for a show, or even problems you want us to solve, our email address is feedback@HomeTech.fm, or you can visit HomeTech.fm/feedback and fill out the online form. All right, project updates. Who slipped this in here? This wasn't supposed to go here. A robot lawnmower shelter? Oh, come on.
You're not giving your robot any shelter.
Well, there is one that we were talking about. These, like, I was looking on Amazon Prime Day to see if those were on sale, because they're like that $160 mark, I guess. And they're still that price. They're not any cheaper. But the manufacturer for my robot lawnmower actually makes one specifically for my little robot, my little Clippy.
Ooh.
So I might get that one later at some point in time.
Why don't you just build a ramp to your driveway and just have Clippy park in the garage?
The garage door doesn't open anymore because it's an office, but
Oh.
Clippy can't come in. No, we don't let robots in the house. I'm sorry.
Nothing says I love you to your robot like buying him a little shelter. Spend that money, Seth.
Come on, Seth.
You know what? I felt bad last night. There was a rainstorm coming in. I was looking at
rushed out there and put his coat on top of him.
Well, Clippy's been having problems near the edge of the yard, and he's been trying to get away. The thing is, he's just not very good at it. So he'll fall over the seawall into the creek. And I say he falls into the creek. There's no water there. It's just kind of like a ditch. It's overgrown. Thanks, county, for not maintaining that. But the he'll fall in, and I'll catch him in there upside down sometimes, and I'll have to go and pull him out. So it was getting dark outside, and I'm like, where's Clippy? What's he doing? And I looked down at my phone. There was an alert that he had fallen over. He was upside down somewhere. It's like, oh, so I have to go around the house looking for him. I finally got outside. I found him, and I was like, man, it's about to pour. But Clippy, you're going back to work. So because I can't mow the lawn in the rain. But and really he shouldn't either. Like he shouldn't have to.
Gonna get sick.
Yeah, he's not going to get a cold or anything. So I let him go. He was mowing around and having a good time mowing the front yard. And then it started to pour. And for whatever reason, his little like rain sensor wasn't tripping off. Like he just like, I'm going to keep mowing. And I was like, man, you're a trooper. I'll tell you what. And I put him into go home mode. And what he did was what he does is he like stops working and he just drives straight in the direction he was going. And then he finds the edge where the wire is and starts following it around. And so he followed it around in the rain, around the front of the yard, all the way up to the front door. And there's one little section that is kind of like of my yard that's covered by the roof of my house. It's kind of like a overhang type thing. And it wasn't raining there. So I got him up to that part and I hit cancel, don't go home. And I stopped him right there. And he got to wait out the rainstorm without catching a cold or whatever. And then as soon as it was over, I put him back to work after it dried out a little bit. So he worked for the rest of his hours and then went to sleep. That's our Clippy story for the week.
You still gotta buy the shelter for him.
My wife says you babysit that thing more than it actually mows the lawn. I'm like, well, I got to keep him working. Like if he doesn't mow the lawn, I have to.
Yeah.
It sounds like a child, Seth. It seems like a lot of effort.
It kind of is actually.
And we could see him in the background. He's right there. Yeah, it looks like a little skunk out there. Yeah.
Yeah, little baby skunk.
Yeah, it's a black and white camera. It's got like an orange stripe on it, and that definitely looks white at night. So you can see him roaming around the yard. The infrared camera kicked in for the backyard, and I have it up on the TV screen behind me. So we're enjoying Clippy. We're watching Clippy work while we don't have to. Well, speaking of working, TJ, you've been working. We've been seeing pictures, at least in the back channel, where you're sending us pictures, updates. What's going on, man? You're in a different city. You're doing work. I thought you're on vacation.
Been doing a couple things. No vacation here. I did try to do a vacation today, but I got rained on instead. So yeah, I'm in Naperville, helping Adam Justice with his theater. We are moving along. There's progress. Things are happening. We'll get some speakers hopefully cut in tomorrow. Maybe we'll get the projector and screen installed on Thursday. We might have some video here soon. So we have until Friday to kind of make everything work and get everything in place. And it's happening. It's slowly, but it's happening.
You have till Friday. You've got it's the first day. This is the first day, full day of work that you had?
No, yesterday was the first full day. And yesterday I worked on, I got a couple speakers installed in the basement.
Oh, yeah.
Got some stuff in the rack. I got all the network jacks terminated and all that kind of stuff. So, things are happening.
Okay. So there's more going on than just the what's it called? The theater. Like there's another room and
there's several different parts to it. He's going to do Sonos in the basement, so that way he can listen to the theater all over, or if they're watching a TV at the bar TV or whatever. So there's a couple parts to the project that we'll be finishing up here soon.
Okay, so it was like at first you're like, yeah, we got 2 speakers installed, and it's like I've had 2 days worth of work. You might be a little behind, TJ.
All right, so I didn't even install the theater speakers. We just got 2 of them cut in, but we got them all measured out. We got the templates up and everything like that. So they were the painters were supposed to start today, and I think they just started a couple hours ago. So
after our work, maybe Adam would just lock the doors to keep him in.
And stay there. You can just cut the speakers in tomorrow too. Thanks.
So what's the rest of the week look like? You're planning on speakers. You got screen. You got a projector.
Yep.
Yeah, all that's got to get done. So
plugging it all in, making it work.
There we go.
And we got our friend Richard joining us tomorrow. So we'll have to do we'll probably do a special podcast episode with him at some point this week. So I'm excited to see Richard, and we can all hang out together. And I need some help on this theater, so it's perfect timing.
Awesome. Well, hopefully you guys are able to knock it out this week and at least get it. I know that they're still kind of doing construction in that, but maybe you can get it up and going and at least see a picture by the end of the week.
That would be nice, you know. One picture.
Yeah,
Yeah,
just
by
a
the end of the
picture.
week, I want to see a picture of you guys sitting on the chairs watching a movie, you know, with popcorn.
Oh, that's definitely not happening.
Yeah, the chairs are not there. He said that he did not have them delivered.
No,
so
the chairs are there, but there's no carpet
Ooh.
yet, so you can't do anything about that. And I'm not helping moving these chairs, so I definitely need to leave before anybody discusses chairs. So don't bring them up, Gavin.
Posting it to the hub now. What about the chairs?
You didn't bring your white gloves for delivery?
I did not.
Oh well, then you can't move the chairs.
That wasn't included. Sorry.
Oh man, yeah, the chairs definitely you don't get those delivered until the carpet's down, because then you have the people that move the chairs and are experienced moving chairs put them in.
Yeah, because now you have to hire a moving company because
They're heavy. They really
they
are
are
heavy.
so heavy and they're so obnoxious. They look giant too. He says they'll fit, so we'll see.
Oh. Measure twice, cut once. Oh man. Oh, good luck. I can't wait to see more pictures pop up between you guys over the next week, over the next couple of days. So I'll have to see there. And then Gavin,
Hey, don't say week. You're cursing me with the whole week thing. Don't say that.
you got all week. You got till Friday. So working late. Well, Gavin, what have you been up to? You're not installing theaters. You're not harassing a lawnmower robot. What have you been up to besides buying things?
Yeah. Well, speaking of buying things, you know, I was looking to get into the 3D printer game.
Oh boy.
A glutton for punishment.
No kidding.
You know, another printer.
You think matter is frustrating?
Oh, I know. And like I said, I'm happy the wife doesn't listen to this show because she doesn't realize this stuff. So I had a price point I wanted to spend on the 3D printer. You know, I was looking at some Ender printers. I was looking at like used ones where, you know, trying to find somebody that put it together and did all the upgrades and spent money. And now they're trying to, you know, move on to another printer and get rid of it. But then TJ and our friend James over there on Mastodon kind of convinced me to spend twice the amount of money and get something better.
I really had to twist your arm, I bet.
Buy once, cry once, Gavin.
Yeah, it made sense what they were saying. You know, you don't want to spend your time tweaking it, and you know, you want to print, you want to have fun, you don't want to maintain it, and that makes sense. So on the weekend, I'm gonna go meet up with this guy. He has a Prusa. I'm going to take off his hands, a good price. And he seems to be a printer enthusiast. So he's going to show me the ins and outs and,
nice.
You know, and give me like a little tutorial about printing. And it's already set up. It's already working, you know. So he'll show me all that stuff. So I feel good about this buy, you know, a little bit more than I wanted to spend. But I'm already looking at like sites like printables.com, and I'm getting excited about all the little projects people are posting. I'm like, I'm gonna print 10 of those and 5 of those, but then I'm probably gonna realize that it's gonna take 5 hours to print one of them. So that printer is going to be going for a long time.
That's why you need multiple printers. See, when you buy one 3D printer, it opens up a gateway because you're able to print things, but then you realize how long it actually takes to print things. And so you need another printer so you can print while that one's printing. And then you'll eventually run out of time. So you'll need to buy a third printer. And if you thought your Wi-Fi issues are fun, Gavin, wait till you get a 3D printer.
I'm excited, and I'm going to enjoy this moment while I can. And probably next podcast, I'll be frustrated, and we'll talk about it then.
It's a fun hobby, honestly. I've had a couple of 3D printers. I've had a Prusa. I've had a Flash Forge, and I've had a couple of the Enders. And it's definitely a fun hobby, and it's very rewarding to be able to like print your own stuff.
Yeah.
And I even like designed a couple things, you know, rudimentary things like an access point mount and speaker mount and some other stuff. And it's so cool just to watch that like come to life in front of you.
Yes.
So I think it's fun, and it's definitely a worthwhile hobby.
I feel excited.
I want one of those resin printers. Have you seen those? Where it's like actually printing with like the liquid or whatever. But you can print like more finer things. You can print like some jewelry and figurines and stuff like that. Those seem really cool to me, but you have to have like a properly ventilated spot because it puts out a lot of fumes and smells up the area. But yeah.
Step 1, buy a 3D printer. Step 2, print a new 3D printer. And step 3, return the old 3D printer.
You can actually do that with a Prusa almost.
Yeah, they all seem like they're just a bunch of parts that somebody's put together, and everything's like you could just print a frame and buy all the parts individually and put it together yourself in a way. But
Yep.
I know there's more to the software and stuff, but it's cool. I'm looking forward to getting it.
Yeah, and people do that with, I think it's, I know there's a couple, but I think one of the more popular ones is, I think it's called Vorox or Vorex. But it's like basically a do-it-yourself printer build where you print some of the parts and you buy some of these parts off a third-party website and you put it all together. And the advantage is you get like a really large, print surface area and stuff like that. So there's a lot of stuff you can do with it, but the brushes are good because they're rock solid, and they're one of those things that just work. It's kind of like the Lutron of 3D printer world, where it's just you buy it and you just keep using it.
I think my main decision making feature was the self-leveling bed. So, like when I heard other people fighting, they have to level it before every print, etc., etc. This one has it built in. I'm like, that's one thing I just don't want to fight with, So if it's built in, and I was like, that's worth the upgrade there.
Self-leveling doesn't mean that you'll never have to level the bed, just so you know.
Don't ruin my excitement. Like,
I'm
seriously.
just
let
saying,
me find out for myself here.
you think self-leveling would mean you would never have to touch it? It is not true. It helps, but you're still going to have to learn the art of leveling a bed, and that can be frustrating. But
thanks.
It just means self-leveling means you get to do it yourself.
Yeah. Learn it yourself.
That sounds fun. Gavin, you're enough of a tinkerer. I think you'll probably enjoy printing things off and little small projects and things to kind of help help egg on your home automation habits. Because I can totally see you like the building like a little mount or something for one of your Unify access points and that kind of thing. So, and I know there's a lot of like not marketplaces, but like little places you can just go download stuff and just print it, right? Is that what you guys are talking about?
First.
Yeah, printables.com was one of the sites. Yeah. And I've already bookmarked a number of things, that I want to print right off the bat. Like my first thing is probably like my first test print will probably be a little Baby Yoda figurine.
Super important.
As you're supposed, that's required, I think, by law. You have to do that. So
yeah, I'll sit right next to the machine to watch over all the feature prints, And then after that, I saw all these little things like headphone holders and this and that. I'm like, those are stuff I usually buy off like Amazon. I'm like, oh, I can print them all, like that's awesome.
Well, cool. We'll have to. I'm excited for you, for your expensive habit. Ooh, here's a monoprice mini Delta 3D printer for $60. Should I get this one?
No.
You'll spend more time babying that than it will actually print.
We'll help you spend a lot more money on a good one, Seth.
$60 though.
Look, if you get a nice one, you can just print Clippy at home.
Ooh.
Might have to do it in sections, but
I'm not going to do that.
Obviously.
let's just be clear about it. I'm not going to do that.
I just wanted to be on record in case I come down there and Clippy decides to try to take me out. I can be like, no, I was defending you.
You saw how slow he is back there. Of course, now it's dark and you can't see him coming. He just sneaks up on you. So
yeah, but you've seen horror movies like the person trying to get away is running and Jason's walking the whole time and he still gets them, right? Like,
yeah, you're gonna get chopped down, Seth.
Yeah, you trip
on my my pot filled the lawn where he's been digging holes with his wheels when he gets stuck. So yeah. You'll trip on one of those holes, and
that's where he buries your parts. You think he's just getting stuck. He's actually digging the hole for you.
Yeah, exactly. He's digging a grave.
You're gonna lose your shins like Cotton.
Yeah. Oh man. All right. Well, I won't get this $60 printer or $60 mono price printer.
Yeah, not if you like yourself. If you don't like yourself, you should do it. But
it seems like something you could set up in the background. Like look at that, I have a 3D printer, and just never use it. Well, I actually am, Gavin. I think I'm excited for you because it's you're going to come up with unique things that nobody thought of to do at your place with that thing. So that'll be fun. Oh yeah, and Gavin, not only were you on not one but two HomeTech podcasts last week. Whoops, I had a delay in editing one of them. You're also on another podcast, Home Gadget Geeks. You were a guest over there, and I like that podcast. It's fun to listen to.
Yeah,
I don't just listen to the ones you're on. It's actually, he does pretty good interviews and has interesting people on.
No, I found Jim is great at interviewing. He can make like he's just good at getting you to talk, and I guess that, it's easy for me to talk, but some people it's hard, to talk, and he'll bring out the topics, and you just get you going. But no, I was on Home Gadget Geeks. It's almost like a quarterly thing. I appear on the show, and we talked pretty much all home automation, right? So we went a lot into Home Assistant, and we got more in detail than we did on this show about, soil moisture sensors.
How is that possible?
Stuff like that.
Five weeks we dedicated to soil monitoring.
We went a little deeper into it. So we talked about a large range of topics. I actually automated my watering this week now that it's set up automatically, because I wasn't trusting it, and now I feel comfortable with it. So now what happens is that around, like, in about 15 minutes, for example, it's going to evaluate all my zones, determine which one doesn't have enough moisture, and then schedule them for the morning. Right. So it's like a water as needed type situation now. So it's saving me water and stuff. So I'm liking it.
I was wondering why you weren't doing that. Because when you were talking on the show and saying how you manually, like, well, when I notice one of them's low, I just manually schedule it. And I'm like, that doesn't sound like something Gavin does for very long. And sure enough,
it was temporary.
Yeah. And I guess right now, what's going to have to happen now is, like, you're going to have to make sure that it's not just like all those sensors are correct, and it's not like giving you false readings and just watering one area because it's always says it's 25%, needs to be 35, that kind of thing. So,
well, I did discover this week, like, one of my sensors, the measurement just looked off. And when I went out in the yard to check it out, one of my nozzles were actually stuck, and it was watering the road. So, that was a good sign, so, I adjusted it, fixed it, and now it's properly watering in that zone. So, having the sensors out there helped me find a problem with the irrigation, which is good too. So that's kind of why I didn't automate it at first. At first, I just set it up to notify me, just so I can see. And now that I'm more comfortable with it, I set it up to automatically schedule it, and it will notify me anyway. So it will let me know what zones it's scheduled for the morning. And I keep an eye on that, but it's good to know, because you could see after it's done watering, I'm working on giving it a 20% increase. So I know exactly how much time it has to water to get me from, say, 30 to 50%. Right. And I've been doing that for each zone, and it's been pretty complicated, but it's like, my grass is green. Matters. That's all. That's all that matters. The grass is looking good.
I found a white paper at some point. I don't know why. It was in my slumber, or like sleepwalking. When you're like surfing the internet and you're just like sleepwalking virtually. Like, I found a white paper on how to. It may have been on Mastodon. Somebody posted it. It was like a study, like an actual study from a university, and all the math and stuff behind the algorithm that would tell you how to water your lawn using what you're doing, exactly what you're doing. I was like, man, I need to share this with Gavin, and now I got to go find it because I don't know what I did with it.
No, share it with me. I'm definitely, I become a lawn watering nerd. Yeah, my irrigation, the guy that did my irrigation system, I actually was talking to him this weekend when he was looking at it. He was like, what are those things? And I explained it all to him. He's old school.
He like sticks his finger in the ground. He's like, this needs some water here.
Swirls it around his mouth.
Yeah. He kicks a few blades of grass. He's like, oh, those are looking dry, Yeah, but he was like, wow, this is way beyond me. But when I told him how I found the broken head, he was like, oh, I see real value in this. Like, even as an old school person, he was like, that could solve us, with his clients. For example, he has a bunch of clients, and if he had this sensor information from his clients, he could say, hey, something's wrong with this zone at this client, and contact the person and go in advance, stuff like that, but he's old school. He would never go into technology like that, but I could see somebody utilizing stuff like this.
Yeah. Tell him, don't, it's just don't do it.
You'll be broke before long.
Just buy a 3D printer.
buy a 3D printer. It's way better of a hobby. Yeah. No, like it's soon enough, like his clients will be like squishing and stepping on the little red blinky light things that they see at night. It's like, what is this? And they step on it and it's a bug. No, that was your sensor, and now I got to come out and repair it. It's going to cost you a lot of money.
So one thing I did with the sensors is I actually moved some of them to like the edges of the lawn. And I was watching the readings, and they pretty much read the same, like I was sticking them right in the middle. So I said, you know what, let me try moving them to the edge across where the fence is, right? And they were reading the same. So I'm like, oh, great. That gets them out of the lawn. So accidentally stepping on them is, no longer a thing. So, if someone else out there has these EcoWit sensors, try and move them to the edge of the lawn, where it still gets water. But it will probably measure the same amount, or you could just, relatively measure it. You'll know.
Yeah, cool. Very cool. Data and feedback. And then now you've implemented the automation. That's awesome. So I was wondering when that was coming. It's like, when's the automation happening? Gavin's gonna
eventually.
Got to ease into it.
Yeah, exactly. Don't just jump all in and get every ground. No, wait, that's what he did. He got every single sensor he could possibly find.
That was one of my goals this year, was to do that, was to, measure the moisture of my lawn and get the waterings. Because the ratio is nice, but it doesn't take into account a lot of things. It's basically like, oh, it rained today, but it doesn't know how much it rained. It guesstimates it, but some of my lawn is covered under trees. It doesn't get the same amount of water as and some of it gets more sun than others. So this, I get a lot more detailed, specific to me information. And I just found I've been getting better results in using less water, because the ratio just ran the system no matter what, right? This one's just running the sections that just need the water.
Well, mine right now is basically turned off every day because it thinks it's raining. Like it's going to rain in Florida. It's the
same here.
It's 95 degrees with 150% humidity and the heat index is 130. And it's like, it's going to rain, it's going to happen. But sometimes it doesn't. Like today, I don't think it rained here. It rained everywhere else. And then these showers randomly just pop up all the time. So it's been off. It won't water the lawn because it doesn't think that it needs to, because it's Florida in the summer. And sometimes it's right, sometimes it's wrong, but getting that better data locally is better. So it's awesome. Cool, man. Well, maybe if anybody else out there has put together a robotic yard sprinkler system, let us know, because Gavin AI is growing green grass in Canada, and curious if anybody else has implemented it. Gavin GPT. What are we going to call this thing? Gavin.io. I can buy the domain. All right. Well, that's going to wrap up this week. We do want to give a big thank you to everyone who supports the show, but especially those who are able to financially support the show through our Patreon page. If you don't know about the Patreon page and you have $60,000 just laying around in your pocket, head on over to HomeTech.fm/support to learn how you can support HomeTech for as little as $1 a month. You know what? If somebody does that $60,000 donation to HomeTech, I will go and I will get them a rounded edged turntable thing and send it to them. I'll make it happen. Not the Jony Ive one. It'll be
I was like, wait a minute.
It'll be a HomeTech one, a special HomeTech one. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Limited edition, and one made.
I'll even up that too. We'll fly you to Cedia this year too. I mean, what a great deal. We'll hand deliver your new record player at Cedia this year.
Exactly.
If you give us $60,000.
And you know what? We'll give you a shout out on the show, because any pledge over $5 a month gets you a shout out on the show. But every pledge gets you an invite to our private Slack chat, the Hub, where you and other supporters can marvel at the acoustic of whatever. I have no idea what does a record player do anymore? Scratch? I don't know. We'll send you a fancy one. It'll be fancy and it'll have a dust cover on it. And we'll post pictures in the Hub and everybody can look at them. So every single day we're in there chatting it up in the Hub about all sorts of fun stuff. If you want to help out but don't have $60,000, totally understand. Just would like your support in other ways. We just appreciate a 5-star review on iTunes or a positive rating in whatever podcast you're listening in. It really helps people find the show. Maybe that person that finds the show has $60,000 they want to send this. And we'll send them that record player. We'll make it happen. It will happen. Anyway, that's going to wrap up another week here on HomeTech. Everybody have a great weekend. We'll see you next week.
Till next time.
Take care.